I don't know if you've noticed, but we spend a lot of time talking about Vanguard on this channel. But one thing that we've never done is make a complete Vanguard guide. It's one thing going through all of the funds, possible portfolios and member fees, but what good is that if you don't know how to use the platform in the first place? So in this video, we're going to do a complete overview of the Vanguard UK website, showing some of the key features and explaining a few basic investing concepts that you need to know when you're using it. We're going to cover everything from opening an account, describing the different types of funds, selecting funds, fees, managing your account, so get yourself a cuppa. Whilst this video is going to be useful for beginners, you shouldn't feel left out if you have been using the platform for a while, because there's still going to be some information in this video that could benefit you. If there is anything in the video that you already know, just skip ahead using the timestamps, because I'll put them in the description. Also, we just want to make it clear that we are not financial advisors, so if you want independent advice tailored to your own circumstances, then seek professional help. With that out of the way, let's take a step back and review the platform that we won't shut up about. Let's get into it. So, some context. Vanguard are the world's biggest provider of mutual funds or index funds, whilst being the world's second biggest provider of ETFs. They were founded in 1975 by legendary investor Jack Bogle, with the aim of making low-cost passive investing available to all investors. Fast forward a few decades and we get to 2009, where Vanguard first moved to the UK. Their services were initially available to financial advisors, and their ETFs and index funds could only be bought through other investing platforms. But in 2017, Vanguard launched their UK investors website, which is a platform that we know and love today. So if you are an investor who wants to start investing with Vanguard, then of course the first thing that you're going to want to do is open an account. You can do this by clicking on the link in the top right corner, where you'll be given a range of account types to select from. This includes a personal pension, stocks and shares ISA, general investing account, or a junior ISA. Selecting the right type of account is extremely important. So I'll quickly summarise all of the options that we have. We'll start off with a stocks and shares ISA, which is most likely the type of account that you'll be looking for. A stocks and shares ISA is an account where you can invest up to £20,000 per year tax-free, meaning that you don't have to pay any dividends tax or capital gains tax. You can only have one stocks and shares ISA open within each financial year. So if you already have one open, then you can either transfer it over to Vanguard or you'll have to wait till next April. If for whatever reason you don't want your stocks and shares ISA to be with Vanguard, or you've exceeded the £20,000 limit, then you could open a general investing account, or GIA. This is almost the same as a stocks and shares ISA, apart from the fact that you're not going to get tax-free benefits, so you will have to pay dividend tax or capital gains tax when you sell your investments. So as a rule of thumb, it is always good to open a stocks and shares ISA where possible. Another option is a personal pension, which also gets tax-free benefits, but it is different from a stocks and shares ISA. Any money invested into a pension will not be taxed if it's coming directly from your employer, but you can't withdraw it until the age of 55 without being taxed heavily. When you do eventually withdraw from it, you will be taxed depending on your income tax rate at that time. If you have any old pensions from previous employers, you can transfer them over to Vanguard. In fact, I've done it myself. You do have to be careful when you're doing this though, because you wouldn't want to miss out on any pension benefits that you get from other providers. The final type of account is a junior ISA, where you can invest up to £9,000 a year tax-free for one of your children under the age of 18. It's worth noting that the £9,000 tax-free allowance is separate from the other £20,000 tax-free allowance that you get in a stocks and shares ISA. So it can be useful to use those tax-free benefits towards your children. As an example here, we'll click through as if we're going to open a stocks and shares ISA. You should read through the info on this page when signing up to understand the terms and conditions. The first thing you're faced with is selecting a fund, and you have the choices of blended, equity, fixed income and cash. Admittedly, I don't know why they're burdening you with this choice straight away, because it is quite an important one. But we'll show you how to go about selecting funds later. It's worth noting that you must deposit a minimum of £500 lump sum or set up a £100 direct debit when opening an account. However, after the account is open, you can invest smaller amounts if you'd like. For the sake of this example, I'll deposit £500 cash. The next step is to input your personal details, where you'll need your name, address, date of birth and national insurance number to get set up. Once that's done and you've signed it all off, your ISA should be open within the next few days. So back to the fund selection, which is probably the most important thing that you're going to need to consider. The funds that you can select from are broken down into 4 key categories, different to what you saw earlier. We have the LifeStrategy funds, the target retirement funds, ETFs, and finally index funds. To help get your head around what's what, we'll go through all of the different types of funds and explain how they differ. First up, we have a LifeStrategy range, which is a great range of funds that are ideal for beginner investors. The range includes 5 funds, for LifeStrategy 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100 funds. The number in the title of a fund refers to the percentage of equities that fund invests in, with the rest being invested in bonds. For reference, equities is just another name for stocks, which are generally more risky than bonds, but in turn offer higher expected returns. So if a fund was to have a high allocation to bonds, it would generally have lower expected returns, but those returns would be much smoother, whilst a fund with a high allocation to equities would have higher expected returns, but those returns would be much more volatile, and you'd see them fluctuate a lot more. With this information, you can select a LifeStrategy fund that suits your investing needs. To help you make this decision, Vanguard provide this diagram on the Learn More section. It shows which LifeStrategy fund is suited to which situation. If you have short-term investment goals or low tolerance to risk, the LS20 or 40 funds are generally more suitable. If you have medium-term goals, then the LS60 fund is ideal. And if you have long-term goals and a high tolerance to risk, the LS80 and 100 funds could be right for you. In summary, the LifeStrategy funds are an all-in-one solution to your investment portfolio, depending on your investment needs. It's an easy decision to make and they do all the hard work for you. If you do want to learn more about these funds, then we have got a video on them and I'll make sure to link that below. The next type of funds that they offer, the target retirement funds, are also very similar. With these funds, all you have to do is select a date that you expect to retire or reach your goals, then invest in that one fund. The fund will then automatically change your allocation to bonds and equities as you approach your target retirement date. As bonds are generally less risky than equities, it will increase your allocation to bonds as you approach retirement, so that your hard-earned savings are more secure. On the Learn More page, they show a graph that gives a typical portfolio change throughout the years. You can see that you start off with a higher allocation to shares or stocks, whilst the bonds start to increase over the years until they reach a steady level at retirement. The target retirement funds are about as set and forget as it gets. All you have to do is invest every month and Vanguard do the work changing your portfolio for you. Again, we have got another video on these funds if you do want to learn more about them. Next up, we have 2 types of funds that we're going to group together because they are pretty similar. I'm referring to the wide range of ETFs and index funds that are available on the platform. Now, to be clear, there are some differences between the 2 types of funds, which we explained in last week's video. But for the most part, they do the same job, so I'll group them together for now. Both the ETFs and index funds are collections of stocks that have the purpose of tracking a particular stock market index. For example, a famous index is the S&P 500. So Vanguard have a S&P 500 ETF that tracks the S&P 500 to try and replicate its returns. You have the option to select from equity funds or fixed income funds, which are mainly made up of bonds. This means that you can build up a custom portfolio, which is a little more hands-on from the other types of funds that we've just discussed. All of the funds are broken down into different geographical regions, such as Europe, global, or the USA. When investing in ETFs and index funds, one of the biggest things to consider is what combination of funds are you going to select to build up your portfolio. A common strategy is to pick a single global fund, such as VWRL, the FTSE All World ETF, or the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund. This would give you an all-in-one global portfolio, giving you maximum diversification in just one fund. However, you could achieve the same results by investing in a combination of funds, such as a Developed World Fund, combined with an Emerging Markets Fund. Or maybe you just want your investments to focus on the UK, so you could pick the FTSE UK All Share Unit Trust. Or maybe you want to invest in the US, so you pick the S&P 500 ETF. The choice is ultimately yours, and as you can guess, the combinations are almost endless. We certainly can't advise you on what funds you should pick, because we aren't financial advisors. But in some of the videos, we have done fund reviews and we've even made up some portfolios just in case you need some inspiration, so you can check those out. When you're trying to decide what fund you'd like to pick, you can simply click on the fund to learn more about it. You'll be taken to an overview page that will give you the key information such as the price, the number of stocks in the fund, and the ongoing charge. The paragraphs below will also give some information on the index that the fund tracks and the aims of the fund. You can click on the Performance tab to view the performance of a fund over the past few years, although we recommend that this should not inform your investment decision as past performance is not indicative of future returns. The Portfolio Data tab is probably the most useful, as it shows you the characteristics of a fund, the geographical breakdown, the market sector allocation, and the stocks that make up the fund. The Distributions tab shows information on the dividends that are paid out, such as the dividend yield and the dividend dates. The Costs and Minimums tab gives some info on the minimum amount needed to invest in the funds, but bear in mind that these minimums don't need to be met if you already have an account open. A key part of picking any type of fund, whether it be ETF, index fund, target retirement funds or LifeStrategy funds, is by looking at the costs. All of the funds have ongoing charges that are displayed in an obvious place, but there are other types of costs that you should know about. To learn about the fees, click What We Offer, then Our Fees and Charges. Here, it shows that all investors will pay ongoing charges for all of the funds, whilst paying the account fee of 0.15%, which gets capped at £375 per year. If you scroll down though, you can see that there are two other types of costs: transaction costs and one-off costs. Transaction costs are costs associated with Vanguard buying and selling the stocks that make up the funds that you invest in. One-off costs only apply to the ETFs on the platform, and you charge for them every time that you buy or sell an ETF on the platform. You can click on the Vanguard full costs and charges link for a full breakdown of all of the costs associated with all of the funds. It brings up a PDF with a full cost breakdown. For example, you can see that the S&P 500 ETF has ongoing costs of 0.07%, transaction costs of 0.01%, one-off costs of 0.02%, and then the account fee of 0.15%, which adds up to 0.25%. It's worth noting that there can be an added fee when you're investing with ETFs on the platform. If you decide that you would like a live price, meaning that you buy the ETF instantly instead of waiting to the next buy point, which is typically at the end of the day, you will be charged £7.50. 9 times out of 10, you should not do this, as this will eat away at your returns. Let's say that you were to invest £100. If you're giving away £7.50, then you're automatically 7.5% down. So be patient and just wait till the next available price, as buying the live price is not going to have a significant effect on your long-term returns. There are some other useful features of the site that I'm not going to spend too much time on under the Invest in Education tab at the top of the screen. There is a pension calculator, which helps you figure out how much you need to save to earn a set income at retirement. There's a page that gives you info that will help you decide which type of fund is best for you. Then there is a page that describes the different options that you have when it comes to withdrawing from your pension. The last part that we'll talk through is the accounts page, which you get when you open an account with Vanguard. You can use it to review your entire portfolio, your ISA, or your pension. In this example, I'm going to run you through my pension, which is made up of money that I transferred in from some of my small, older pensions. On the overview page, you get to see the account value, alongside your overall returns. By clicking on investments, it will show you how your portfolio is broken down, showing which funds you invest in and their allocations. The performance tab shows a graph of your returns to date, but the insights tab is probably the most useful. Here, you can see the geographical breakdown of your portfolio, as well as a sector allocation. Now, if you have a complex portfolio filled with many different types of funds, then this can be a great tool to see how your portfolio is actually broken down. You can see whether you're overweighted in some countries or underweighted in others, so I definitely recommend checking it out. You can also use the accounts page to set up direct debits, view your transactions, open new accounts, view your secured messages, review documents, and update your profile details. It's also on this section where you can choose to transfer stocks and shares ISA or pensions over to Vanguard. Vanguard just needs some basic information from you to get the transfers going, and then they'll do all the work for you. Sometimes it can be long and it can take a few months, or sometimes it can just be a few weeks. It's quite hit and miss. But for now, that is it. All of the basic information that you need to start investing with Vanguard in the UK. If you have any questions about the platform, just let us know in the comments. We always answer them and we're happy to help. We're also going to update our Vanguard UK playlist so that it's actually filled with the most relevant content. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. If there are any other details that you'd like to know about the platform, let us know and we might make a video on that topic. Until then, stay classy everybody.